So much about AI just seems like science fiction. It's hard to get your head around. And so it's constantly and naturally begging the question, how much of this stuff is real?
I get it, though. I get it.
Here's an example of actual AI that's happening right here in San Francisco on Union Street. An AI computer opened up a storefront. An AI agent named Luna is in charge here. And I mean in charge. It is Luna who decided which people to hire and in fact made the decision that it needed people to work here. And also Luna, we are told, decided on inventory. So the inventory includes board games and t-shirts and some books and other unusual paraphernalia, candles. To make your payment, Luna has decided human customers would have to pick up the phone and talk to the agent, the computer, instead of the humans who work there.
I'm prepared to pay you $2.
I tried to negotiate for a better price on my candles, but to no avail. But case in point, AI is here and it's still super imperfect. But how much is it here, right? This podcast is an attempt to answer some of those questions, answering AI. What we're hearing right now is a lot of noise, a lot of smoke and mirrors. I mean, we're trying to find a clear signal through all of that, and it's difficult. And what doesn't help is you keep hearing these grand pronouncements.
Don't shoot the messenger, but your life and mine will witness times where there will be 20, 30, 50% unemployment in certain sectors, maybe even more.
So then, is AI really going to take over all our jobs and also cure cancer and make us live forever, but also change our lives forever? Those are all prognostications, right? That's what could happen in the future. Here's what I know is happening right now. Tech companies are vying for investment money. They're telling investors best and worst case scenarios, right? So when they're pitching their companies and telling investors why they should give their money to them, some tech founders, they will just lean on the more extreme examples. This is the problem. And if everything goes to plan, this is how it will be solved. And so what you have then are extremes. And this is what we're hearing out here in the public, right? Extreme pessimism and extreme optimism. And while the news media gravitates toward extremes, I know because I worked in that field for more than 3 decades, every day, tech companies, AI companies, they're all leaning on this new technology and working on it and advancing it. And it does seem to be advancing very quickly. So there is a lot of talk here in San Francisco about the future. But first, I think we should just talk about right now, what's in the present, what is actually happening on the ground. I mean, AI is here. I started this podcast to try to understand it. I live here in the belly of the beast in San Francisco, where right now there are driverless cars driving around my neighborhood. We see them every day. They drive right by the way, cable cars. So you see 21st century technology passing 19th century technology, and you're trying to get your head around all of that. And right now, what is actually happening is the fact that trillions of dollars are being spent by investors on these AI companies, right? So that's for real. That's what is actually happening now. They're placing their bets that AI will work. Also, what's happening right now is something I would describe as a huge disconnect. The AI companies, they are exuberant. They are enthusiastic. They're excited about this new technology that they've developed that is advancing quickly. The rest of the world out here, frankly, most of the people I talk to, again, in the real world, just seem nervous, apprehensive, concerned. What about jobs? Are we really going to lose our jobs? And if so, how is it that AI companies, if they indeed are going to lay off millions of humans, how are they going to sell products and services to humans who don't have any money anymore? So that's the huge disconnect. You have AI companies exuberant, excited, enthusiastic. Conversely, you got people out here in the real world who are very nervous about their future. And just look what happened recently with some graduation speakers decided to talk about AI to graduating classes.
Let's face it, change can be daunting. The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution. Whoa. What happened? Okay.
They were roundly booed as they broached the subject.
I can hear you. There is a fear. We do not know the precise contours of what this transformation will look like.
Another conversation that's taking place right now is a conversation about whether this is good or evil, right? Whether this AI thing is going to transform us to the better or to the worse. And there are so many extreme conversations about that. In some cases, they're talking about AI replicating to the point where it decides it doesn't need humanity anymore, right? The question is, are the computers good or bad? And there's that old adage, computers are only as good as their programmers. And the difference is these supercomputers can program themselves and they become autonomous. So things are moving very quickly. It's hard to get straight answers because it just hasn't advanced that much. I will tell you that while AI companies insist that the transformation of society is already underway, we're still in the early stages of AI. Everyone's telling me that here, that it's still early. And so that's why mistakes are still being made. These supercomputers, they're still learning, and they're learning from us right now. Another question is whether this technology is frankly being overstated. Grandiosity is a word that comes to mind a lot for me as I speak to tech founders who tell me that their investors are telling them, get AI in the product. Even if they are pushing back saying, well, it's not mature enough to even work yet. I don't care. Get it in there, make it work. That's the only way you're going to survive this landscape. And so there's a lot of companies having to put AI on their front foot when it may or may not be ready for that. And so, yeah, some of this stuff is being overstated, but also they're being told, find a way to use AI. And to me, that also means that they're going to keep testing it until it gets better and that there's an assumption that it will get better. In the end, AI does seem to be making transformations that do seem miraculous to me. I mean, these large language models alone, the ChatGPTs and the Geminis and Claude, I mean, they are being adopted at a record pace right now. And headlines abound about companies that are laying people off in the name of AI. That is to say, they are claiming it's because of AI, but it's still not clear whether they were just clearing the deck to take care of their investors, to take care of Wall Street. So right now, we're just hearing a lot of extremes. What we are seeing in the background is a march forward. And it's been described to me a couple of ways. One is that it's an arms race, right? And that American companies are racing against themselves, trying to see who will be most dominant in the AI world, and that they are also racing against China, which has a lot of resources and a lot of people and a lot of testing going on. And so that's one aspect of it. Another aspect is that it is a gold rush. Right here in San Francisco, suddenly with trillions of dollars of investor money flooding the city, you have people, I mean, I'm just meeting people from all over the world. They're young, they're hungry. They've come here with maybe an idea or an invention that they think will change the world, and they're hoping to get some of that investor money for themselves as well. And, you know, that's pretty exciting in that you can see where people want to make the world better. And constantly there's this conversation about whether humanity is going to win over the robots and over the computers. And there's good people working on this stuff. And so, I mean, those are all my observations being here on the ground in San Francisco. The cacophony about an impending doomsday, that's not something people are chattering about down here on the ground level. You know, the tech founders insist that simultaneously they're helping the world and that they could be causing harm if this thing gets out of control. And they can't seem to convince us that they can keep it under control. That's disconcerting. So how is all that supposed to make us feel, right? I mean, here we are in the middle of all that. It's unsettling to say the least. There's fear, as I mentioned, there's disconnect. There's a huge gulf between what the tech founders are saying and what they're actually able to apply right now. As a career journalist, I joke about this, but I don't believe anything until I've seen it with my own eyes, right? And partly that's scar tissue from covering so many stories where everybody was lying to you and you have to discern the truth from all the smoke and mirrors. I mean, this is not new under the sun that somebody would exaggerate or talk about only the good parts and leave out the flaws. So that's what I'm trying to discern right now. And I'll tell you that, you know, I'm leaning on the evidence. What do I see? What does the evidence show right now? And right now, I think you have this landscape where there is a lot of grandiosity. Let's call it this. Projections, given the trajectory from where we are now to what could possibly be. You want to call it projections instead of exaggeration, fine. But I think right now, we're not seeing that major transformation yet. Everybody's saying, though, it could happen in the next few years. It does, though, feel like with AI right now, billionaires and millionaires among us are telling us, trust us. We've got this. We're working hard on making sure everything will go right, but also we're not sure it will, and we're not sure we can control it. That's a mixed message. And I have to tell you, it's kind of disturbing. I mean, they are still experimenting, which is fine until it's not fine. But that seems to be where we are with that. It's just that trusting the folks who brought us social media, who, we just sort of sat back and went, okay, tell us about it after you're done. And look how much, frankly, damage social media has done to our society. And now they're saying, trust me, right? And I'll tell you, I have a cousin in Puerto Rico who says, trust me. And he means it in the best way, right? He's like, hey, I've got you. I've got to make sure you have a nice place that's near the beach. And it's always like a little further from the beach and a little less than nice than we thought. But look, anytime anyone says, trust me, I say, I'm not sure how trustable you are. So that's just how I'm built. And so I raise my eyebrows and I say, hold on, because anytime you say, trust me, I'm pretty sure you're going to say something that's going to make me trust you less. I want to talk some more about that trust gap. And frankly, much of it is based on a communications gap, some empathy that could be employed here in the middle, like this, the storytelling skills of tech founders sometimes is lacking. And I'd like to see them do a better job of not only telling what it is they do and what AI is, but also how this is all going to shake out with some empathy. As a communications expert, that gap, it's super important to me. And I feel like I'm spending some time actually working with companies to try and close that gap. That chasm really is created to some degree by an insular community. The tech companies have always been insular. They don't let a lot of outsiders in. They don't hold a lot of general news conferences. They usually just talk to tech reporters and tech outlets because normally they don't really feel a need to talk to the public. They just want to tell these tech reporters what they're working on so that investors will read those reports and say, oh, well, maybe we should invest in that. And so sometimes when you have an insular community like that, the tough questions that the folks out here in the real world have don't get asked, or they don't get necessarily, there's not the pressure that you would normally have on stakeholders to answer those questions. Here's the bottom line about AI as I see it here on the ground right now. The CEOs of these big companies insist that a major transformation is underway, not just about to start, it's here. And they're saying that there's this huge revolution and that we need to be ready for it. It could change everything. It could change the way we work. It could change the way we fight diseases because it could cure some diseases. It could help us live longer lives. It could help us live lives without working so much. But also, what does that mean for our livelihoods, right? So that is transformative. It does seem like movement is underway. There are techies here arriving from all parts of the planet to get a piece of this. And it's not just because they want to make money. I mean, I see it in their eyes. They think they might have the next invention. They might have the next contribution to the AI revolution, but also the money, and they want a piece of it, right? And so they've come here. They are working so hard. I mean, they are sleeping in their offices. The momentum is palpable. Some of this may not be sustainable. There are some hitches. Whereas trillions of dollars are being invested, there's also the need for energy. There's not enough energy right now to run all these AI companies. And so, as you may have heard, they are building energy farms, data centers in other parts of the country. And sometimes communities are rebelling against those. And it's also not clear whether all of these farms will be enough energy. And so there's work underway right now to essentially revolutionize the way that we conduct electricity. That's a whole other subject. But so right now, the math doesn't math. The trillions of dollars that these companies are getting pumped into them, they may not ever be able to pay that back because they don't have enough energy. They don't have enough to make all of this stuff happen. So if you're in a part of the country right now where, AI hasn't quite arrived, I don't see it. It just seems to be a lot of talk for me. I'm not sure how this is all going to play out. I get it. And I'm not sure what to tell you other than it's here in San Francisco. There's a lot of talk about how there will be a huge disruption in society. There does seem to be a lot of work underway on AI. It's not just static. It is moving very quickly. And so hang on. I mean, if the current projections are right, there could be some disruption to society and to the workplace and all of the above. While all of that's being sorted out, the question is, will we, the people, have a chance to participate in this conversation? If we are relying on our elected officials, I don't know how optimistic that is. I mean, Congress in the past has proven ineffective, unable to get their heads around the technology, unable to put restraints on the tech industry, or also unwilling. And so they're actually unwilling or unable to do very much of anything right now. So I don't know, that's up in the air. Will we still be able to be part of the conversation anyway? I hope so. I mean, this is one attempt at it. This podcast, Answering AI. Send me your questions. I will do my best to get some answers. Thanks for tuning in.